Hi everyone, welcome to this week's team catch up. For those of you who have not met yet, I'm Paul Edwards, Chief Exec here at CHP, and delighted to be with you today. A few updates on things going on across the business, but I'll start with some big news for the social housing sector across the country this week. So the Chancellor of the Exchequer gave the spending review this week, and this normally happens once every few years, and it sets the overall budgets for each government department and what outcomes can be expected from that. I don't normally get excited by things that the government says, but certainly seems to me to be a real watershed moment for social housing. And the headlines this week will deliver the most significant injection of funding into social housing for a generation. So some quick headlines on that. The government announced £39 billion over the next 10 years for the Affordable Homes Programme. That's the government programme that gives us grant to build new social and affordable rent homes. So longer term certainty on that, which headlines are really good. Really importantly for us planning our business, a 10-year long rent settlement. And over the last few years, we've been working on shorter periods of knowing where our rents are going to go. So the government's given us certainty for the next decade that our rents can increase by inflation plus 1%. And that's really important for us to be able to have the confidence to invest in delivering new homes. An extra £1 billion to speed up the remediation of existing homes so that every resident enjoys a safe, warm and healthy place to live. And for those of you that know, we've been working with particularly Chelmsford City Council on some work with Afghan refugees and other areas, another £950 million across the country for the next round of the local authority housing fund, and that's the largest round yet. And finally, from the headlines, over £100 million for early interventions to prevent homelessness, and there's some other wider investments to tackling rough sleeping. So a brilliant set of headlines for all of us working in the social housing sector, that the Labour government is really prioritising spend to make sure that we can do our jobs more effectively. So what does that mean for us and our proposed merger with Estuary Housing Association, that we'll talk to you lots more about as we get through the next few weeks and months as we lead up to day one. So for our current and future residents, this for me is more than just about numbers and headlines. It's a real momentum to build high quality, genuinely affordable homes that our communities across Essex need, whilst at the same time speeding up our ability to decarbonise the homes we already own. It's not often, as I said, that I get excited by things that the government says, but it certainly feels like a really generational change and investment in our industry. And our jobs will be to make sure that we make that every pound of that translate into better homes, stronger places and brighter futures for our customers. We'll talk to you more about that when some of the detail comes out over the next few months. On to some other areas today. I want to thank everybody who attended our drop-in session when you could look at our revised plans for our regeneration of Andrews Place in Chelmsford. Thank you. We had some brilliant feedback on those plans, especially relating to some of the garden areas and the later living accommodation. And your feedback, along with our customers' feedback and that of the wider public consultation, has been essential in helping us develop our final plans for Andrews Place. We'll continue to update you on that, but in the meantime, you can look at the Andrews Place area of our website. Last Friday, all of our colleagues in our customer services directorate were invited to a celebration event and a great opportunity for Isabel's directorate to take time out and come together as one big team and celebrate everything you've achieved together. I want to share my thanks for everything that you do, and I really appreciate the work that you do for CHP and for our customers. I'm really pleased to share that all of our employees will get similar opportunities to take time out and join their colleagues at one of our summer social events taking place in July. We'll have more details on this soon, so please watch this space. I'd like to remind you now about our next Team CHP briefing, and this will be on the 9th of July and should be landing in your diaries. I'm still working on the topics we'll be covering. I'll be joined again by Rachel Hadley, and this time I'll also invite Thomas Kearney, our Homes and Places Director, to talk about AWAB's law and the significant upcoming changes within the housing sector and within CHP to help us achieve compliance with that. As always, I really do expect everybody to attend those sessions, and I've asked managers to help you with your workload so you can attend. Everybody should have received an invitation to calendars, but if you haven't, please reach out to the events CHP events email address. So a few weeks ago, Changing Tack, we shared a video where Jenny Upton and Marion Lawrence spoke about our customer relationship policy updates. I've got another video to share with you this week, all about changes to our pet policy. So let's have a look at that video.
Hi, I'm Jenny, Head of Policy, Strategy and Research at CHP. As you might have seen, we have a new pets policy, which means that customers in CHP homes don't need to ask us for permission to own a pet. We're here to tell you a bit more about how this will work. Over to Kerry for what you need to know.
Thank you, Jenny. I am Kerry, the District Manager here at CHP. Here are the 3 key things that you need to know. Our customers have a duty to be responsible pet owners and ensure their pets don't cause damage to their home or pose a risk to the health and safety or well-being of our customers and staff, of course. Where problems arise, we'll manage them on a case-by-case basis in line with our antisocial behaviour and neighbourhoods policies. Customers still need to ask for permission before making changes to their home for their pet. Small changes, for example, a cat flap, could impact the fire safety of a whole building. Please see the full policy for further information or get in touch with me if you have any questions. For information about the pet policies of homes we manage on behalf of others, please contact our partnerships team.
Thanks, Jenny and Kerry, for lending us their voices for the video. Please contact the communications team if you have any feedback on this new way of sharing our policy updates. So to wrap up today, I'm going to look at some of the CH praise you've shared, recognising your colleagues for their amazing work and the times they've gone above and beyond. But first of all, a customer has emailed us to compliment Steve Wake from the customer service team. The email really is quite long, so I'm going to read out just a part of it. But the customer said that he called Steve to consult with him about CHP's award of compensation, as he'd been told it would have been paid to his internal rent account. Because of my financial circumstances, I really needed the compensation to be paid into my own bank account where I could access it. Steve addressed my request with patience and gave an outstanding attention to detail and anticipation of further information or actions that might be needed. Throughout his handling of my request, Steve conducted himself in a respectful, considerate, patient and thoroughly professional manner. I've got over 35 years of experience in giving and receiving customer service, both good and bad, and I can say with complete confidence that Steve has delivered a truly exemplary service to me in handling all aspects of my request. He followed up my request with appropriate colleagues to make sure the necessary arrangements are made, and well done, Steve. So that was quite a long email, and that's just an extract of it, but the impact you made certainly turned that customer's experience, because I imagine up to the point of needing compensation, we hadn't been brilliant for that customer, but thank you, Steve, for making sure that the end of his process went really smoothly. To wrap up today, some last bits of internal praise. First, Charlotte Heacon has taken the time to call out the work of Kira Hill and Nikki Miles. Charlotte said, "I'd like to take a moment to recognise my amazing teammates, Nikki and Kira. With Susan away on holiday and me catching up after my own holiday, they've both been incredibly supportive, always one step ahead and ready to jump in where needed. Their reliability and positivity make a real difference, and I love working alongside them." Brilliant. Well done, Charlotte, for taking the time out, and thank you, Kira and Nikki, for your work in that team. Tom Scotting has recognised the work of Marion Lawrence Tom said we received a safeguarding concern raised by a customer who was particularly distressed with ASB concerns. I shared this with Marion, who really quickly contacted the customer, discussed their concerns and the support options available. I really appreciate how quickly Marion responded to this and how helpful she was to the customer too. And finally today, Ian Pallett's taken the time to recognise the work of Andrew Stead. Ian said Andrew was on the last of his late shifts, and despite doing a full day installing some doors in challenging surroundings, he picked up a job on his way home, close to Clacton, to prevent the call-out operative having to travel from Chelmsford. Andrew stayed late and ensured the property was safe and sound for the customer. A great selfless effort from him to ensure a positive result for everybody. Andrew, well done. Thanks for going over and above and making sure that customer experience was great. So thanks all for watching. Have a lovely weekend and I'll see you next time.